Hi there and hello everybody. Welcome so much to another week of Love in Action TV and podcast, Deconstruction Junction. We missed a week last week because I was going through interpersonal trauma. The living of a human life will sometimes bring on all kinds of unsuspected events, and sometimes we fight our husbands instead of come to podcast, and that's just how it goes because we are loved and lovable here, and you don't get along with everybody all the time. If you have to tend to your house instead of tend to a podcast, tend to your house. That's how you restore justice and love today and every day. I'm Dr. Flo. Sorry to get so heavy at the start. I'm an online coach and mentor. I tell it like it is. I tell you not what I heard, but what I know. What I know is that you're loved and lovable. You've always been loved and lovable, and you're going to be loved and lovable for the rest of your life. And no one can change that, not even the fabulous, multi-passionate biracial who is Black biracial, who is here for another week of the show. Introduce yourself to these people, loved and lovable you.
Hello, folks. That is my loved and lovable child. For those of you that are maybe new here, I'm going to hold space for the fact that maybe one of our new friends, our new Threads friends, or our new Clubhouse friends might be listening to this later on. So if you're new here, the sound in the background is my lovely kiddo, Piper. So you will sometimes hear me say their name on this podcast to try and mitigate the hollering, but today we're feeling very vocal. Right now we're talking to my dog Moose, so that's that. I'm Tara Priolo. I am your resident Black biracial multi-passionate musician. I talk about the ish that nobody wants to talk about and push you to do the same. I think that's all I gotta say. I think that's it. I think that's it.
And can you explain to the crowd why did we even start Deconstruction Junction in the first place?
Yeah, so Dr. Flo and I don't know if you've noticed, Dr. Flo and I like to talk. Like we like to orate, and like it's a we do. And we ask questions about the world. And we over a year ago, maybe close to a year ago, I did a week of master classes, and then we took that to do different subjects each week, and then we were like, nah. And then Dr. Flo was like, let's just do it all Deconstruction Junction, because that's all of what it is. Like everything that we do is underpinned by this need for liberation, this want for liberation, the want for wholeness for every living human, every living person, healing 10 generations forward and 10 generations backwards. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it is. So we bring everything to this pod that we find interesting. A lot of it lately has been politics and race and just crazy ocean shit. And climate change, so like there is a lot of that in there, but the angelfish did die, or the angler, whatever the fuck it was, it died. She done died.
That's why the white people on the internet were crying. They were crying because the fish that usually dwelled at the bottom all of its life went all the way to the top, took its last breath, and just cast aside its life under the sun of the ocean. That was actually the sad part. And just so y'all know, we don't only talk about anglefish and the sadness of the ocean when we deconstruct. There are people who want to come on. They're in pipeline to come on right now to talk about the deconstruction of their faith, deconstruction of their politic, deconstruction of their education. A lot of us are coming out of the heaviness and the chains of our training, and we're getting free every day. And this space is about talking about that freedom. But if you see yourself, oh my gosh, my accent came out again. If you see yourself on stage with us, open door. As long as you want to come, encourage, equip, and empower, and talk about the things that are important to you, we've got at least 3 other slots available on the stage here. So definitely let us know if you're feeling saucy like us. All right, Tara, you got the first slide today. I'm going to zoom it so that you can see it. because that's ridiculous.
It's so
And
tiny.
boom. There
Okay,
you
so
go.
this says now y'all are testing it because this I put in here last week and then we didn't go live. So these are new thoughts. This is fresh to me. I did not really review. Okay, people need to understand that resistance is more than the direct opposition. The vast majority of resistance is taking care of people. The only way that people can afford direct opposition is if they have the support base to do so. They can only be out in the streets if they know their families can eat. Resistance is about feeding people, not only their mouths, but their spirits. Resistance is about protecting people, not just physically, but emotionally. Resistance is about community. And we're going to come back to this topic. Hey, baby, can we make sure we're not accidentally calling someone? Okay, we're not. Um, my child has my phone, you guys. So, and I always kind of panic because it's like, what if the child accidentally calls the police and all the police here are anyway, there's that. So I have to check that we're not calling someone. This morning we almost called Dr. Flo, so there's that.
Dr. Flo would have said, "Good morning, you're loved and lovable. But why are you calling me this early, baby?"
Why are you calling me? To tell you that mommy takes away everything that is fun. That's probably why they would call you. Anyway, back to this. So this, I believe, was posted in reference sort of to this boycott, and essentially, you know, and I'll bring this up again later when we watch the video on today's boycott. That really we like one of the things that I have been very struck by in the last, I don't know, year as we went through an election cycle and we have really come into this, you know, this regime and really realizing that like, yeah, some of the things that I thought wouldn't come to pass have come to pass. Um, that sounds like a Lord of the Rings quote. That we just don't have any safety nets. We don't have any preparation for the revolution that many of us believe is necessary. And so there's really not a way to get revolution. We have to go to work because we're in capitalism. Doctor people because there's no community healers. And I don't mean there's no community healers, y'all. Hear what I'm saying? There's not enough, right, to go around. There's not community gardens, right, to feed the people like that. Like we are just so, because of capitalism and because of colonialism and all of these things to keep us where we're at, they're just so many spaces that are devoid of the community necessary for the revolution. And that's kind of what this thread is pointing to.
For example, there's a community garden that's at one of the local churches that's down the street from us. I never see children in it learning how to garden. Perhaps that's happening. I would have to investigate, but we need large scale community garden programs to offset the food cost that's happening in this country with all of us. I'm gonna read this one more time so it sinks in deeper with me. Tara brought a post that says, people need to understand that resistance is more than the direct opposition. People need to understand that resistance is more than the direct opposition. The vast majority of resistance is taking care of people. The only way that people can afford direct opposition is if they have the support base to do so. They can only be out in the streets if they know their families can eat. Resistance is about feeding people, not only their mouths, but their spirits. Y'all know Dr. Flo believes in this. A lot of our programming is anchored in making sure that lentils get on the table of the people in our community. 1 in 6 people, 1 in 6 individuals in our community are food unstable tonight. Resistance is about feeding people, not only their mouths, but their spirits. Resistance is about protecting people, not just physically, but emotionally. Resistance is about community. And that's why we're always here daily in Daily Boost and also Deconstruction Junction, trying to make sure that people feel seen, heard, valued, and honored in our own special way. We are not here to be emotional whipping post for anybody. We're not here to build your project for you or anything like that. And we're not trained therapists either for group therapy sessions. We are community volunteers who believe that resistance is all about community. And if you are longing for community, come in, but sit down so that we can encourage, equip, and empower you to then stand up and go into the world and then do whatever you want to do. But we've drifted a bit in our society away from the need and importance of community and care for people. And I'm excited about what we're building here and what we've been building for the last 4 years. It couldn't come at a better time. Which brings me to one of my slides tonight: dead ends in community building, and also the Love and Truth Project. And make no mistake about it, folks. Community and coalition has to be something that you strive and effort for, because we're not interested, as Tara brings up often, in building a cult. A cult is a group of people who are encouraged to and believe the same thing, going in the same direction. That's what a cult is. We see present day cults currently mounting up on wings of eagles. That's a biblical reference, because they're using the wings of the eagles of religion to build this idea that everyone should be thinking the same, and that's a cult. A movement is a group of people going in the same direction who are allowed to think differently. And we're seeing in our community building here in Love and Action Network that a diversity of thought, or even a diversity of logical thinking and critical thinking, can be perceived as attack. And no one's here to attack anyone. We just got work to do. We've just got profound work to do. So I just want to talk about Love and Truth Project. I'm building it here out of Lexington, North Carolina. Like I told y'all earlier, 1 in 6 people here are food unstable, and I'm getting the rest of the numbers for the other hardships here. But this is not something that we can look away from. And a lot of us in society right now, not me, y'all think I'm overreacting. Well, if I'm overreacting to the hardship in the community, then you all are underreacting, because there's some really bad things happening to people. I didn't bring the clip today, and I know she's a polarizing figure politically, but AOC let them have it in Congress yesterday or day before yesterday, because y'all are in here arguing about laws and executive orders, and I almost said lawlessness, because that's really what it is. When you start talking about people not being able to receive critical health care, they're going to literally die because of the games being played in Washington. And it doesn't matter perhaps to Tara or myself or anybody else who doesn't have a family that's encountering that, but for the people who are not going to be okay physically and cared for, I think it's weird. I think it's weird that there's 19,000 people here in Lexington at various levels of being cared for, and no one's really talking about it as much as I would like to see, as I think warrants 1 in 6 people not knowing how they're going to eat. Those are children. Those are women. Those are men. Those are, trans people in the community, houseless people, homeless people who just are not able to make it. I've always said the food should be free. Tara, what do you feel about that?
I think that, yeah, I mean, I guess I base a lot of my philosophy, my theory, my building in what Jean Lee said over a year and a half ago, when I probably first came across them. Might have been longer ago, but the video lives rent free in my mind, where they said everybody deserves to eat. And the story goes, they were homeless, and they went to a shelter, and they literally ate dinner for many months with a Nazi, and like that was out of necessity, right? Had nowhere to go but this shelter, learned a lot of things, da 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 da. And I think that the reason that things are that necessities cost have a cost to them, right? And if you really think about it, it's a cost on both, like the imaginary money that we give value to, and also a cost on our bodies, right, to make that money. That the they do this so that we don't rebel, so that we don't revolt, so that so that something toils our fingers, toils our thumbs, that we're toiling in the kitchen. And so I think that it all should be free. I think we should all have access to water. I think we should all have access to food. I think we should have access to uh, human decency, and I think we should all have access to healthcare. And that's just, it's not the way that it is. However, and this is no excuse for the leaders that you have been meeting in Lexington, but the vast majority of the people, especially in the United States, are so overworked and underpaid that they simply do not even have time to go find the statistics, right? Or to even read the statistics. Or during the news, they have 5 kids, and they're not watching the news that says we're pulling Medicaid, because that's the latest thing. That, I don't know if y'all heard, the House Representatives and their budget cuts Medicaid. Not completely, but it cuts enough of Medicaid that it's going to be a problem when it passes the Senate. A problem, right? But
do you believe that it's going to pass the Senate without an issue?
With ease. Yeah, I do.
So we're anticipating direct harm.
Yes. And I think I said it somewhere a couple of days after 47 was elected, that people will die in this. And this is also why we have to keep talking about community building. We have to keep talking about how to
not saying that in some cavalier way. We're like, because what they say is like, well, people die all the time. It's inevitable that people die. Dying's part of life. What's the big deal? You're talking about needless death, like we had with them the first fucking time,
and targeted death. And I want to talk about this because the vast majority of people, this is a class war, right? The vast majority, obviously, of people on Medicaid are poor people. These are blue collar workers, whether white, black, brown, purple, green, yellow. Okay. That's who they're attacking. Okay. They're coming to make us even poorer in order to keep their status quo. That's what they're coming for. Because if we have to pay for Medicare or medicine out of our pockets, which is a giant capitalist industry, right? What you going to do? You either going to go to the doctor.
And we're talking about life-saving drugs, Tara. We're talking about life-saving prescriptions. We did a episode about this about a month or so ago, where the numbers of a lady's prescription in the pharmacy was like $4,000.
Yeah, we talked about it with cancer. Yeah, it was a cancer drug, and it's a hard thing because there's so many people that have tuned out of politics, and I understand why. I get that it is, to an extent, it's theater, except this is theater literally playing with people's lives. All of them. Every presidency, every Congress, everyone has been playing with everybody else's lives. So sure, you can say you're tuning out, but when you go to the doctor and your insurance no longer works, because you weren't, you weren't tuning in and you didn't have time to prep for it and da 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 da. Like, we're in a very dangerous state of not enough people paying attention to what's actually happening, what will actually affect them. There is a real belief that a lot of what federal government doesn't affect us everyday people. But I
And
can
let me tell you
guarantee
something, baby girl. I guarantee you that when Billy Bob's grandmama, which is the white avatar, and Raekwon's grandmother, which is the black avatar, when Billy Bob's grandmother and Raekwon's grandmother dies needlessly, you're gonna see more Luigi's.
yes,
You're going
yeah,
to get more Luigi.
yeah.
They're turning. I don't know if this is
They're
intentional or not.
playing a very dangerous game, and they're banking on people continuing to ignore it. That's the thing, like that, and that is this whole thing about this particular regime is that the premise on which they were elected, if they were elected, because there's one of them that was not, child. But the premise
I
on
believe
which,
I believe that Starlink. I still, the one story that sticks out to me from what you're saying is how Starlink mysteriously stopped working for certain polling machines that were connected to the satellite internet. The
yeah,
idea was that we would only be able to connect and get the data through specialized satellite links for rural parts of the country that were governed by Elon satellites. And at certain points during election night, it has been reported that those connected station points for the voting were disabled or disconnected altogether.
yeah. I
So
mean,
I'm
that's
not
part of it, but
confused.
there are also people that did vote in the belief that it would help them at the expense of everyone else that it would harm. And those
Oh
are the
yeah,
people that I'm talking about. Like
my
like
apologies.
and yes, that is true too, but this administration was elected under the premise that it would be okay because they're helping me and it don't matter about all those other people. Well, all those other folks, listen, I will say it here, we're talking about community building. We're talking specifically about Love and Truth and Lexington, but the bigger microcosm of this is if, okay, I'm a Lextonian. They came for me, and no one stood up for me. Right? I'm a Winston-Salem resident. They came for me, and no one stood up for me. Right? Then it becomes a person. What's the capital of North Carolina? Is that Charlotte? Okay. I'm in Charlotte. They came for me, and there was nobody left to stand for me. That's where we're at, folks. Like,
This morning I woke up to talks about the militarization of the police force and also these militias that are popping up throughout the country. I mean, what do y'all think is going to happen?
yeah. Well, and I do have to
Unchecked,
say that, like,
unchecked.
your boycotts, the fake protests of the Democrats in government, the speeches, all that stuff. It is. I'm so sorry to say, y'all, but it is too little, too late. Y'all got to start organizing with community, and you got to start taking care of each other. That's just where I'm at. Like, no amount of Democrats staying up all night to, it's all performative. No amount of blue bracelets is going to help you. No amount of boycotting. No amount of saving money. None of that is going to be the thing that saves you. The thing that's going to save you is your next door neighbor. The thing that's going to save you is being able to be harbored somewhere who's going to keep you safe. Like, those are it. And you got to start making those connections today.
But that was always necessary, folks. That was always necessary. We were always going to have to fight for community within systems and technologies that want to silo us as individuals with singular devices. What you're squinting at there is a picture of the National Endowment for the Arts. It's just a piece of kind of There we go.
NEA. Got it.
It's just the side of a building. And the article that's underneath says the National Endowment for the Arts on February 6th announced that it's canceled its Challenge America grant program, which offered $10,000 grants to small arts organizations that targeted undeserved groups and communities that may have limited access to the arts relative to the geography, ethnicity, economic status, and or disability. And were able to supply matching funds. The agency additionally revealed that it will alter its 2026 grant guidelines and said that it's prioritizing, God help me, prioritizing projects that celebrate the upcoming 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Yada 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 yada. So, essentially, they're gutting money for art to be made. Like, why? What do they have, Tara, against art making people who would be deemed as undeserving or underclass?
I really want y'all to go look up the 10 stages of genocide. I just want y'all to go to look it up, because one of the things about genocide that it's not only that they kill the body, right? They kill innumerable bodies, right? Like, if we really want to talk about it, Stalin, one of the most prolific genociders ever, right? Joseph Stalin in Russia, he killed 20 million people. Okay, 20 million. I got to say it one more time. 20 million. Y'all remember when we were talking about the grains of rice? 20 million. 20 million people he killed. But what also happens during fascist and genocidal regimes is a purposeful degradation and deletion of culture, right? And so this, and also I want you all to just like make the tie between who is in the arts, right? There are a lot of white people in the arts, don't get me wrong, but there's also a lot of gay people. There's a lot of trans people. There's a lot of Black people.
Another poignant question would be, who benefits from the expression of arts in a society? Who benefits the most? Who has the most to release? Who has the most to find joy? It's the working class people that need to have some level of joy. The arts and joy, we kill the joy, they got to go back to the plantation. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Right. So, I mean, like, and I'll ask here because maybe this is a bigger platform and maybe I haven't asked large enough yet, and I'll keep asking, and maybe I need to be the one to do it, but like, who is reporting on the arts news? Like, because like stuff like that, like, it's mentioned a little bit, but there isn't like a Don Lemon, there's not a Joy Reid, there's not even a Rachel Maddow, right? Like, there isn't a person like that is reporting on the arts. And I really, people think that that's a yellow flag. That is a giant red flag. The things they are doing to the funding systems of the arts, the things they are doing to the Kennedy Center, the things that they are doing to museums. I don't know if y'all read the story about what happened, that they canceled this dude's thing at a library. Like, he was Black. It was supposed to be during Black History Month. Like, y'all got to realize how big of a red flag that is. Like, there are certain other things that seem much scarier, but we got to pay attention to the things that are also much more insidious and much more like going to be swept under the rug. We got to start paying attention to those things, because it's a giant red flag that they are coming for the arts in the way that they are coming. Like, and they are coming. Okay.
And arts are already underfunded anyway, but we always know, and we've seen throughout history, the artists and the creatives are the ones who are usually making the most ruckus and are the change makers in society. The beat poets, the drummers,
right.
So
well,
many
think
societies.
About the Palestinians and how, like, when awareness was being raised on TikTok and beyond, a lot of that was through music. Like, I came across a Palestinian playlist on Spotify. There were a couple sounds on TikTok itself that went viral in support of Palestine. There were filters right? That's a form of art. There, there was so much of the culture, right? And paintings of the olive branches, of the olive trees, and these things that are so important, um, that are arts based, that lead movements. And so, it's not that we're in addition to the movement. We are the starters, the middles, and the ends of the movements. I want y'all to go to look up Stravinsky. I want y'all to go look up Phyllis Wheatley. I want y'all to go look up um, go read on African American Art Song Alliance. I want y'all to read Langston Hughes' poetry. I want y'all to explore. I cannot remember the name of this book, but it's and I cannot remember the name of the author either, but it's Japanese. It's one of the oldest books in the world. I want y'all to go explore that. I want y'all to learn about how much diversity is in music, in classical music even itself, right? If you look at Indian classical music, if you look at Chinese classical music, y'all need to see how this leads. Even go look up Bach. Look up how radical Bach was to the church. Right? Like I really need y'all to understand how much the arts lead and how much the arts finish. Okay? Look at all the artists that have been exiled from their countries because of the work.
The storytelling is dangerous. The storytelling is dangerous, man. It's a very interesting craft, and I love it so. I also looked up the 10 stages of genocide. They are classification, symbolization, discrimination, dehumanization, which we're seeing happen to trans people, organization, polarization, we're seeing that happen, preparation, persecution, we're seeing that happen, extermination, where we're going. And then the 10th thing is the thing that the ruling class people do the most, denial, which is more than a river in Egypt. Denial. It's ridiculous. Anyway, Tara, we gotta crash through before we crash out.
This is just a reminder, speaking of artists, careers aren't linear. Let's normalize career gaps, sabbaticals, time away to be entrepreneurs, learning breaks, and returning to 9 to 5 because we choose to. And I brought this for a couple reasons. Number one, to just let you know that whatever stage of your career you're in, it's okay to be in that stage. But number two, that last line, like going back to a 9 to 5 because we choose to, not because we're forced to, is really like, that's something that's really near and dear to my heart. I think a lot of artists end up going back to 9 to 5s under duress, and then they are literally unhappy for the rest of their lives, because they can't find time for their art, and it really just breaks my heart. But if you can find a 9 to 5 or a part-time job or whatever that works alongside, a thrive career or a muggle job or whatever you want to call it, but like, make it a choice. And I think that too is radical. And I think not enough of us think about our choices being our very ability to make a decision is radical, and not being forced or coerced into that decision is radical. So that's why I brought this.
Agency. Agency, privilege that a lot of us take for granted.
Right.
And not these false choices where we have to make a choice because it's like the less of two evils, like an actual choice. I like this, Sarah, because a lot of us in these economical times are having to do the 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 to equal 8 situation. I'm not an entrepreneur that gets all of my funding from one egg basket. A lot of us as activists and artists don't want to get our eggs from one basket because some of y'all try to steal and or destroy our baskets. One of the things that keeps me notoriously free in Lexington, North Carolina to ask the questions and to raise voice is that I'm not financially connected to this community in any way beyond sourcing students and clients to help support here. But no one can call my boss anywhere and say, have you heard about Flow? That's because artists are taking back our independence and activists are taking back our independence from establishments. And we're now in a place of agency as it relates to our careers and where we want to go. And so, yes, those career gaps, those sabbaticals, those times you take away to be an entrepreneur, all of these things are part of our freedom story. And a lot of us are writing our freedom stories for the first time in our lives. I've never had this much freedom before. And I'm sure that generations before us were stepping into new freedoms. Talking about women's eligibility to vote, Black people's eligibility to vote. All these spaces we've stepped into have come about through the work and through the hands and through the efforts of people who wanted to be free in their own way, free in their time, if you will. And so what does freedom in our times look like for you? It is not having some boss make me feel bad about being late to work anymore. I spent decades of my life being berated for doing great work. But if you could just work on being here like 3 minutes earlier, that'd be great. Well, why? Like, why? And so many people being bullied or held to ridiculous standards on their jobs. I'm not doing that anymore. The boss is me, and I've never made me feel bad about not putting time in Chronos or whatever other thing these systems have that make people feel bad about themselves. Yes, let's normalize career gaps, sabbaticals, time away to be entrepreneurs, learning breaks, returning to a 9 to 5 because we choose to, not because the man is on our ass. I want to talk about forgiveness briefly as we move through this deck tonight. All I'm going to say, y'all, is that forgiveness is necessary for community building. I'm not the poster child of forgiveness. I'm quick to cut. I have a fuck you in my pocket right now for anybody who needs it. However, if you want to be in relationship with people and you actually want to build something that's bigger than yourself, you're going to have to cultivate whatever forgiveness looks like for you. And what I was sharing earlier in the day was that because people are actively forgiving me daily, I'm also becoming a more forgiving person because there's a grace thing that's happening. We don't talk about grace a lot because grace is usually something that's extended into spiritual circles or religious circles. But the grace that Tara and I have for one another in life, day by day, as just humans on the planet, is a real thing. If we don't have the grace and we don't have the forgiveness, we're not going to build the communities that we say we want. And a lot of us say we want to be held and loved and cared for, not without forgiving some shit. What say you about forgiveness, Tara?
Watching my child attempt to ruin another one of my earrings. Anyway, it's one of my hoops, and they're currently. Oh, that's better, baby.
If they destroy it, are you going to forgive them if they destroy it?
Yes, I am. Nothing else to do with a 10-month-old. Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're so funny. Get it. So to me, what I was going to say is that, we said this earlier in the week that like forgiveness is for the person doing the forgiving. It's not for the person receiving the forgiving. And what I want to say is that I do think that like this idea of forgiveness and grace really plays into one of our main themes here, which is the openness. And Dr. Flo and I have really been toying with this openness over the last month or so of like, how open are we to receiving people in various states? How open are we to like going to places to see what's happening? How open are we to attending shows? How open am I to talking to someone that I feel like has scorned me who's going to act like everything is completely peachy fine? Do I forgive them, or do I keep holding on to this thing about, what they did to me or what they could do to me, right? And so I do think that, like, it, in a lot of ways, like, that forgiveness is about openness. It is about going somewhere, even with people that you don't like, knowingly, people that you haven't seen growth in, or people that you haven't seen do the things you want, and forgiving them for that, and being open that there might be another path to take with them. Yeah. And it is necessary to community building, because we're not always going to get along like that. Like, I think some of y'all think that community means that, like, everybody's la la and happy, and nobody fights, and nobody, like, has hard conversations. And I would tell you that community is exactly the opposite. It's exactly the opposite. And if you are in a place where everybody's telling you yes, and everybody's, like, clapping for you and doing that, you should question if you're in a community or if you're in a cult.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because a true community is going to challenge you.
Right. Right.
I've not seen a single authentic community that I've been in where I was not challenged. And it could be as simple as something we employ here, ouch and oops, where, like, yo, Tara, you said something to me. The most recent one that's ridiculous, y'all, is her tagging me in a thread, a social media post about narcissist. And people who know me well know that I don't like being called a narcissist, because I'm trying to, like, help people. And narcissists, my therapist, multiple therapists have confirmed, narcissists don't give a fuck about you. And I actually give a fuck about people. So anyway, she threw this across the thing, and I hit me in an offended place. And we went through a version of an ouch, ooch.
I guess we're having hooch today, child.
It feels hooch sometimes. Oh my God, I haven't even had my weekend wine yet. But yeah, we have ouch, oops here. Tara is allowed to say ouch to the things I do around her and as it relates to her, or someone that may be harmed around me, or perception of harm. She can say ouch, and then I go, oops, beloved, I'm not trying to not have you in my life. I will not do that. I will commit to not doing these things. But we have a formal forgiveness process and reconciliation process here, because we are those types of leaders. So if there's anybody on the outside of our in crowd, if it feels that way, just let us know how to come back into right relationship. And it's a two-way street. But I'm realizing a lot of my songs now that I sing on stage about forgiveness have a different sweetness and quality to them, Tara, because nothing's going to teach you forgiveness more than being in a romantic partnership with someone. There's a lot of push and pull and ebb and flow. And then Tara and I also talk about it in our work relationship. Like, that is my work wife. And everything that would happen with the only thing that Tara and I don't experience is fucking each other. But all of the other emotional ups and downs of what a person can go through on the heart level, we experience those things because we choose to go mile deep, inch wide, as opposed to inch deep, mile wide in our relationship. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for people in my life who walk in forgiveness. I'm not moving to do things that's fucked up, that's going to make them need to forgive me repetitively. There were times in Tara and I's early relationship where she was like, she warned me though, before she left. She said, Dr. Flo, if you continue to make me a punching bag, not a coaching context, but if you continue to make me a punching bag emotionally for you, I will not be in your life. Tara, without oversharing and cross sharing, she has a, as we all do, to make it broader, we all have people in our past or things in our past that have made us feel beaten upon. You don't want to be around people that make you feel like you're a piñata. And we have clear lines in the sand now in our relationship, because people will test you. Everybody knows that you treat the people closest to you the worst. Is that not a thing? And so Tara and I got so close We talked about it on TikTok today, where there was a moment where Tara became we moved from what her husband would call an internet friend to being like a confidant and a true champion for me.
Oh no, y'all. No weekend wine yet. And we're already crying into the Pinot, okay?
But there was a point where you crossed over from being a person outside of my heart to inside. Once people come into your heart, you're going to have we're not prescriptive here anymore. We don't tell people what to do as much as we did. We're teachers, so there's a way to do things. You're going to need to do Fami Ray Do. You're going to need to Fami Ray Do. But you can't. But you can't invite people into your heart and keep them there without knowing how to employ forgiveness. I cried about forgiveness. All right, Tara, on you.
Yeah, I think just play it. We like Last Poet here.
I just wish some of y'all would come out and just say, I don't want to be revolutionary. I want to maintain the status quo. I want safety, security, and predictability. It's okay to say that. If you say that, you alleviate me the struggle of trying to actually help you understand revolutionary ideals. And I don't even have all the answers. We're learning together right now. But I just want some of y'all to just say that, admit it, live with it, and be okay with that. It's okay. Like, it's okay.
I'm gonna play it one more time as we do here for the people in the back. This is true though. Like, and even y'all who are Yahtzees, I don't know if I can say that word in public, Nazis, even you Nazi bitches, like in all of history, there are people who stood 10 toes down on bullshit. I need y'all to step to the front because I got somebody and a group of people I want y'all to meet. If you are going to do the salute, we talked about this with fucking Elon stupid ass a while ago. If you do want to Nazi salute, I need you to go 10 toes down on your Nazi salute. If you want to MAGA with me, do it well so I know exactly where to place you and who to call. I'm gonna play it one more time for y'all.
One more time for the people in the back.
I just wish some of y'all would come out and just say, I don't want to be revolutionary. I want to maintain the status quo. I want safety, security, and predictability. It's okay to say that. If you say that, you alleviate me the struggle of trying to actually help you understand revolutionary ideals. And I don't even have all the answers. We're learning together right now. But I just want some of y'all to just say that, admit it, live with it, and be okay with that. It's okay. Like, it's okay.
Yeah, I really resonate with the last half of that, like, because I think some people, okay, I think many people that are talking revolution right now, that are liberal leftists, oh my god, this is really bad fascism, people are going to die, like that type of person, okay? I think you want revolution and abolition. And I think most of you start down that pipeline and you get offended about two steps down by a black person or by an indigenous person or by a radical or by a trans person, and it's okay to change your mind at that point. It's okay to say, you know what, I can't radically accept all of you and I don't know how to do this and I'm uncomfortable and I'm checking out. But like, y'all got to stop lying to yourselves and to us, because we put a lot of energy into you and a lot of expectation into you, and we want to move the world into a better place, but we can't do it if we're busy over here having meaningless arguments with you because you're in our comment section trying to call us out for the way that McNair is spelled. We can't do it if you're in the comment section hollering at us because you think we were preachy that day. We can't do it in the comment section if you're like, But that wouldn't have happened if it was a group of Black people. It don't matter. We're talking about the situation that we're talking about. Stay on topic, undistracted. And again, it is okay if you get into it and you're like, I'm checking out. Boycotting is the most I can do. I'm checking out. I'm gone. Cool. Cool, babe. Have fun with your performative activism, but don't call it that. Don't call it activism, and don't call it radical, and don't call it revolutionary, because none of that is revolutionary. None of it.
None of it. Do we have the boycott in this deck, or is it not in this deck later?
It's in
Because I
this
can
deck.
go.
It's still
Okay.
coming. It's still coming,
I'm
baby.
about to say, because I got plenty to say about this boycott
It's still coming.
today. On today. All right,
Yeah.
so we'll get there in a second because we'll get there in a second. So that's a teaser, y'all. I want to talk quickly about AI and the arts. There's still a bunch of artists that are scared of the arts. There's a bunch of creatives that are scared of the arts. Tara and I have been infatuated. I think it's a fair assessment of this app called Threads. For the last week, we've been talking to a lot of strangers and bridging a lot of pathways to awesome. But I've seen a fear of the new, a fear of AI out in the world, and a lot of painters and published authors and creatives. The latest thing today, there's an app called Sonos, or I'll figure it out. But there's an app that essentially you can put a prompt in and it will just write a whole song for you, backgrounds and all of this stuff. People are going to win awards and become famous from creating with this technology. I don't want to put one of the people that we do enjoy in our network on too far of a blast in the social media. And wow, that is so small. So let's get our magnifying glasses out. Dear
You're the one
Lord.
with the glasses.
Holy moly. Oh, there it is. Okay. So at the top, you just have to trust me, folks. This is ridiculous. Okay. So just, did you bring your magnifying glasses to class?
Listen, I was like, maybe I need to get an actual prescription.
Oh my God. No, just trust me when it says from AI consultant to coaches, what's your biggest hesitation when it comes to using AI in your business or coaching programs? That's at the School of AI says this. And Tom C. Vanden Bosch says, oh, this is a good question. The stigma that we aren't thinking for ourselves, and that's why we're using it. This is one of the biggest hesitations. The belief that it's unethical. The environmental damage that it does, i.e., how much water use is involved in having access to AI. Of course, that's for cooling of the processors and the computers that are spinning out all of these computations for us. And then the last one was, well, second to last, the fear that all of our work frameworks, unique perspectives, and skills would be discounted if we train AI on our signature frameworks only. Not only allowing it to source info from the web or others' IP. That one was interesting to me because Topsy, we'll get to this in a second, is a person who deeply and profoundly and should believe in their work, their frameworks, and unique perspectives. But we're going to talk about how that bounces in our spaces sometimes. And then the last one was so much shame associated with using it, to be honest. There's a shame associated with using AI and assistive technologies. What say you, Tara, about your, personally, I've been a champion for AI for a long time because I'm an early adopter and a technophile. Tara initially was kind of like this is a person who didn't want her voice recorded on Clubhouse at one point because Ursula was going to come and take her whole master's degree away. That's how it was. That's how it landed on me. I don't know if it still lands because remember those days when you were like, "No, Dr.
Yeah,
Clark,
I did not
no
like the
replays."
replays, but it was more because there was nothing like it was a control thing, right? And I still think that about social media and AI, like there and your website to an extent, like everything, like you have no control over who's going to take it. And so I mean, I think I think Portia said this somewhere. I think it was Portia. It was talking about AI and talking about like or maybe it wasn't Portia. Somebody said something to the point of like, there's so much fear around AI that like isn't real. Like that we're not like that people are fearful of something that AI could become in the future as opposed to like actually having the conversation with about like the AI that is currently here, like that we're currently able to access and use. And I think that's a really good point because like a lot of people are afraid of the iRobot. You know, they're afraid of the Matrix. They're afraid of those things, but like we're not there. Like we're not we're in a place where AI is utilizing copyrighted and non-copyrighted information to glean an answer, right? And I think also there's a conversation going on about the failure of Google search. There's a whole Abiola and somebody else I saw were talking about this like massive break of like how wrong Google is because Google is just surfacing websites. And like a lot of times when we're telling people like go verify on Google, Google is actually verifying the wrong information. And that is also
And
contributing to
Google's going to rank. Google is going to also rank the highest paid person. So if you can
right,
pay for your truth to be higher ranked, then you just
right.
paid for the truth that day.
So like I struggle with this because I hear the climate change thing and I hear the like amount of water, but I'm also like that feels very similar to telling millennials that the problem is that we're spending $5 on a cup of coffee. Like that's not actually the problem. The problem is you all don't pay us a living fucking wage. So like I'm going to need us to stop having that conversation. I'm going to need us to stop blaming people for not recycling when the reality is that the corporations are the one dumping the trash. Like we have got to stop like blaming the individuals using AI for the amount of water that AI uses. Like that is a weird correlation and it's a false equivalency. That's weird. That's a weird thing to do. And it's a weird thing to be afraid of because these companies are going to use that water regardless of if we're using AI. Now, I am not a cape for AI. I'm not a stan of AI. I'm very conscientious of people losing their jobs to AI. I'm very conscientious about like how we went through the industrial revolution and people had jobs in the factories no matter how bad, and then all of a sudden everything was it became machines and a bunch of people lost their jobs, and that is why we have the lower class, the middle class, and the upper class, right? Because the upper class are the people that could afford the machines. And so like I just I struggle with that aspect of AI, and I hear, I see what Topsy did there, and I understand that people have these fears. And I've said this when we've talked about AI before, like I want protections for the artists and actually for the artists, because y'all that are out there saying like, oh, but it sources off of copyrighted information and da 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 da. Who is copyright protecting? I'll ask it again. Who is copyright protecting? Who is it protecting? Because it's certainly not the dead composers. It's certainly not Moses Hogan. It's certainly not William Grant Still. It's certainly not Florence Price. You cannot convince me that it's protecting those people. That's weird. That's a weird thing that we have copyrighted information of dead people. Dead. They dead. They in the ground. They're not coming back because this is not AI, right? This is not iRobot.
I still get pissed every day, and I love Louise Hay. I love Louise Hay. I love her work. I love everything that she's about. I get pissed every day that I see like social media from her account, but
Yeah,
it's not because I don't want her information further perpetuated in the society and her skills and frameworks and her work put out there. It's that I'm alive trying to
right,
make a living in the same exact business, and they're very rich. This is why corporations are people, right? Because they can then in death operate as you. um
right,
there's just
right.
so many. I think about
It's
like
just,
he wasn't a
I,
fan of it, Prince, but like the Whitney Houston estate comes to mind. Like they make so much money off of her
yeah,
in like um hologram shows and stuff, like, but then
right,
there's a black woman singer that can't pay her bills tonight because the
Right.
hologram is on the stage.
Well, and I think that that's, again, like I think that's a little bit weird to blame that on AI. And I'm not saying that that black woman needs to pick herself up by the bootstraps. What I am saying is that like you're not poor and a starving artist because AI came about. You're poor and a starving artist because the arts are underfunded by the people in power. I think there's like this weird boogeyman thing about AI. And that's not the reason I don't use AI. I'm not afraid of AI. I don't use AI because for me, it's a lot quicker to just, than it is to figure out what my prompt is, hope that the AI writes it in my tone of voice in something that I don't have to edit too much and then post it. Right now, if AI starts to get better at graphics, that may be something I start to use because sometimes it does take me a while to come up with the concept of the graphic that I want to produce or that I want to see. Like I don't always visualize it in that way. But certainly with my writing, like that's not something that I use AI for. But it's not because I have any of these particular fears that again I think are acting as boogeymen covering the actual problem that we need to be addressing. um it's a scapegoat to not talk about the actual meaningful things, I guess is what I will say. We look like we're listening to Poppy, I think. Okay. So, yeah, y'all, I'd say, I mean, I see a lot of people that are like fear, and maybe this is one of those points that Topsy says, like, my God, I see a lot of people that are a little bit scared of like admitting that they use AI. I will admit I used AI to glean, like Dr. Flo did it the other day, of like, oh, I need these, economic career, like foolproof careers of economic crash. And I did that and I actually gleaned something from it. Now, do I think that I will ever use AI to like write a program for me? Probably not. But that is because I am so intent on my authentic voice. That being said, have I used AI as a contract writer and then edited it? Yeah, for sure. Because that's not my zone of genius. And I think like what people are really afraid of is that they're not going to be as good as the AI in their zone of genius. But like then just make sure you are as authentic as you can be and producing as much art as you can or whatever your gift is, and sell the shit out of it. Make people choose you. Make people come to you rather than the AI, you know? Um
More compelling stories, more
yeah,
compelling energy. Like you need to
like
step it up,
Dr.
girl.
Flo, Dr. Flo can have an AI script written and read that, and maybe it's compelling and maybe it's okay. And he's been resharing one that the AI definitely wrote. Like I've seen this, right? Not the AI flow, but you're reading a script that the AI wrote. But those of you watching that know Dr. Flo and have watched Dr. Flo's other reels, you know that his authentic speaking without the script is more compelling. It is the reason that you send him the money. It is the reason that you want to book with him. It is the reason that you see his thread of, like some GIF that the AI did source, right? Because you typed into the search engine, but it is the reason that you find his personality there. And I think you all can tell the difference. I really believe that we can tell the difference between AI and not AI. And it's not because AI is not good. It's just that it's a compelling thing. It's a human to human thing. We know what's human.
Well, yes and no. Like I've to be Tara is the head of a fabulous foundation called the Paolo Foundation, emerging, and part of its services package to me, um, as a flagship talent, is this app called Captions, and that app can actually produce AI versions of videos for me. But my beard moves weird because it hasn't quite caught up yet to how to Well, this level of the technology has not. I've seen some crazy stuff out in the world that would tell me that it's coming, but we can't be afraid of stuff that we don't understand, folks. Like, just because you don't understand a human or understand a concept, or that doesn't mean that it's against you. You just simply don't understand. And I think that people should really, I don't should on people. I would invite everyone to adopt what the Buddha would call a beginner's mind. Are you able to learn today from life for the first time? Important. And speaking of learning, or the fall therein.
The fall of Hillman Talk. There's a little thread next that you can go to. That's going to be really, oh God. Okay, this says, Hillman Talk is a fake university started after a professor of African American studies, Professor Barlow, who works at a real uni, shared her course intro video on TikTok and went viral. Then a bunch of real professors decided to offer free classes under Hillman Talk, but it quickly went south after too many cooks got in the kitchen. This is from Francesca. And to kind of finish the story, where it went after this thread was essentially a whole bunch of people were mad at this Black woman who quit her 6th grade teaching job, took out a trademark on Hillman Talk, and was like presumably going to make money off of someone else's labor. And this is also a weird thing that I don't know if you see this on threads, but I see this thread all the time that's like, please stop stealing my work. Like, at least credit me. And I'm like, y'all, we done been on this earth for thousands of years. There are no original thoughts. Like, let them steal it. It's never going to be you. That's weird. So anyway, so this lady, I can't remember her name, but she done trademarked it, and she thought she was going to make money, and then she apologized to everybody because she was acting like a grifter, and she had some beef with this other lady named Jasmine, who we love Jasmine. I think the mixer is tonight. If you in Atlanta and you have not gotten your tickets and you want to go hang out with Jasmine and all the people from, they're going to be there at the Atlanta Hillman Talk mixer, okay? But has removed the Hillman Talk name. So essentially, I think what people were actually mad at, that got confused and started to be personal attacks on this Black woman who was a teacher, was that the idea of Hillman Talk, what Dr. Barlow accidentally inspired, was a whole bunch of people releasing knowledge that is only gotten behind closed and locked doors to the public. And I think the grifting nature, or the want to make money off of that, was not in the spirit of the original ideology. It just got confused with a bunch of people saying this lady was stupid for quitting her job because she ain't got no plan. She did have a plan, it just didn't work out. That's what I'll summarize and say.
Yes. I'm texting. All right. I am back.
Hello.
And I just
Mayhaps. Mayhaps. Here, I will give my thoughts on the whole controversy. And not really the controversy. I what was coming up for me actually in the little break was like, I love the idea of home and talk. Like I love the idea of releasing tons of information that is not normally run across, right? And I loved that it was black. My God, on today. I loved that it was black voices. I loved that it was black faces. I loved that it was all these like high caliber, professors at real universities willing to let that go for free. I loved all of that. Now, I also wonder like how do we balance that in today's world? Like when I think about like where I'm kind of going like about wanting to teach like a black vocal literature community education class, but wanting to also be paid for that because we're in capitalism. It's like, okay, do we have different tiers? How do we organize that? And how could Hillman Talk have both supported this black woman who decided that she wanted to make a living from Hillman Talk and also still have the free flowing information? Do you have any thoughts on that? I don't know what you want, baby. I don't know what you want. You're being a pill.
We talked about this earlier. And apologies to everybody listening to the live podcast. It's just sometimes when husband duties call, and you're on stage, you're just on stage, loving on people. So, I wish that all of the education were free. They know that education is empowerment. They know that education is enrichment. And so they try to always put the knowledge behind a shelf so that everyday people will believe that it's inaccessible. It's not inaccessible, the education. It's just that they're putting it behind trademark cost and other kinds of institutional bullshit. I think that everybody who wants to launch a school and wants to empower people should do so. Poppy Water and I, for the last couple of years, have been toying with the idea of launching our own homeschool academy. Maybe that's where Piper will go. Who knows, right? Where people can get a quality education and it's open access types of knowledge. So what I didn't like about this the most, and we talked about this privately, was the ways in which people tried to speak poorly of this lady because she took a risk for something she believed in. Her methodology, and I trust that while I was in Poppyland, that you explained that last part of the story to our audience. There's nothing wrong with risking it all for your dream. You just have to be confident in that. Tara is a person who walked away from, a sense of traditional stability to be out in the entrepreneurial world. Same thing for me. A lot of you were around. I was live streaming then. One day I was working for a circus, and then the next day I enrolled in the circus of life. And I've not looked back since, and I have no intent to go back to the plantations that y'all commiserate on. And so this woman who I do not know, y'all, who is the fall woman, I'm gonna go back to the last slide and say the fall woman of Hillman Talk University, because ultimately her methodology was all kinds of screwy, but she looked like a person to me, and we've seen that. Love you, beloved sister. We've seen that haggard and tired looking math teacher at the school who's sometimes taking it out on the kids because they went to school to be a world changer, and they ended up babysitting your crumb snatchers who are very disrespectful to people in authority. So, as one snatches the crumbs to Tara's stage right, you know? And so I don't want to make her the fall woman for Hillman Talk completely, because we all have equal access to providing educational opportunities for people. Each one teach one kind of vibes. And we often don't take that opportunity because it's hard work, right? That's another missing thing. It's not like any personal enterprise that you're working towards is going to take time, talent, and treasure. And as a person who stepped out on this ledge, you know, it will freak you out to have lots of time, lots of talent, but not a lot of treasure. And I think we got to be honest with each other about how, you know, society makes money important, and it just simply is. And sometimes you crumble under the weight of your own brilliance.
This is just a funsie.
Today, we are exploring a historically black resort town in northwest Michigan by the name of Idlewild. I don't know if you can read that. This is an incredible community. It has an incredible history that some people know about, some people don't know about. You may have heard of the movie Idlewild, you know, with Andre 3000 and all them back in the day. I'm really excited to be here. This is like a great source of just inspiration, black outdoor recreation history. It's really incredible. If you've been following along, you know that I'm at an artist residency, which is actually about 60 miles north of here. And I really want to make some work about Idlewild, so I came here to get some research done. I came to the historical center. It is closed, so we will have to come back, but I'm still getting some good inspiration for sure. This place is just magical. This is my first time here in the wintertime. I've been a couple times in the summer, and it just feels so good. I'm definitely going to be talking about Idlewild more, posting about it more, giving more history as the time goes on and as I find out about it, because even being here, it just feels so good. Side note, I haven't seen another person of color, let alone a black person, in 5 days, so being able to turn right on MLK Boulevard, refreshing to say the least.
Wait.
The end took me, but also like I was like,
What?
because I was like with them. I was like, Idlewild, yeah, I'm gonna learn about it with you. Da 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 da. It looks beautiful. It looks so fun. It looks great. You're connecting with your ancestors. Like I was in it, and then he goes, I haven't seen a black person in 5 days.
Ain't no ancestors in sight, child. Ain't no What the hell? Where is this again? I instantly lost interest.
Michigan.
I instantly lost interest when he said there's not a black person in sight. I said idle, nope. Not Idlewild, idle, nope. That's why it's idle. It's idle.
What I
because ain't
thought
no
was
black people there.
coolest about it was like the artist residency thing, and I was like, oh, that's cool. He's talking, you know, da 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 da. So anyway, I liked a lot about it.
I like the idea of going to places and creating art based around the people. You know that we've been trying to do that here. And it can be challenging, but I love his enthusiasm about his projects. I really do. All right, here's another one from
something about Baby Bangs getting on a live and saying the Democrats keep sending her, and I quote, the ultimate ID politics villains to argue with. And she's not going to argue with a black trans woman on the internet because she knows how that works. She's going to lose in regards to Cat Black and her. Is really making my asshole itch. It really is. Because that comment and the maniacal laughter during it shows that you think this is a motherfucking game. In the midst of there being, at least that we know of, 2 black trans people who have been killed, Sam Nordquist, black trans man, and then Tahiri Broom, black trans woman, didn't even make it to 30. And you're talking about arguing on the internet. This isn't fucking Street Fighter. This isn't Pokemon motherfucking Go. This is real life. And I'm getting into trans people's business right now. I am. You can tell my sis has to shut up, because that's typical. You just amplify, retweet, etc. But that has me fucked up. That has me fucked up. And I want to bring attention to this, because these conversations, I feel like what happens online is we think this is like an echo chamber. It just is existing here. No, these conversations are happening in tandem and within the context of real life shit happening. This drama and the issues that Kat Black was bringing up about trans people and trans people access to gender affirming care and trans people who medically transition happening at the same time as 2 Black trans people are found dead because they got killed, one getting tortured for over a month. They're not separate from each other. They're not separate from each other. And I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to find it. Because for people to get on here and resort a Black trans woman talking about issues that affect her and have been affecting her for however motherfucking long. Resort that shit to, this is the Democrats' ultimate identity politics villain? You're gonna put a Black trans woman in the same sentence as a villain? Everyone should be really motherfucking careful about the conversations and the words they're using in conversations. And I think that's what's getting me really fucking hot, is this shit is not just arguments. A lot of this stuff online, I'm finna get emotional. A lot of this stuff online, it's not just arguments. It's not just arguing. It's not just trying to get a one-up. This isn't fucking Street Fighter. Mind you, this was the type of shit Kat Black was trying to talk about from the very beginning, was simply talking about her experience and fear and danger that trans people who medically transition, Black trans people who medically transition and seek gender affirming care and just attempting to live, go through. And in the midst of that, referring to her as a fucking identity politic villain, as we are also learning of 2 Black trans people who have been brutally murdered and taken. It's pay attention to the context in which these conversations are happening in. And if you find yourself feeling like and registering a lot of these dialogues and discourse online as just existing here, or just existing in the fucking books you read, or just existing online, just existing within your circles, literally go touch some fucking grass. Smell that shit. Eat that shit. It's bigger than all this, and it's bigger than motherfucking Democrats and Republicans. Oh my God. Shut the fuck up. I'm going to end this video by saying I'm sending love to Kat Black. That video really had me fucked up. So if I'm speaking out of turn, you can let me know. But I'm sending love to you and to Sam Nordquist and to Harry Broom and just all Black trans folks right now. Like,
so I brought this, and maybe it's not on your feed, but on my feed, it is filled with Madeline Pendleton, Kat Black, and a bunch of other creators dogpiling on TikTok. And TikTok is like, and then there's like, Christina has another video that is basically about like, this same thing, which is like, this is none of this is happening in a vacuum. These conversations that y'all are having online, none of it is happening in a vacuum. And it's one of the reasons why I'm pretty adamant that I'm responding to what's happening like in the actual world, as opposed to responding to internet drama. Because like, if we're not talking about Sam, what are we doing? If we're not talking about and calling out the racism of the people that some of y'all respect, and you're having trouble clocking racism in people and in the way that they speak, like, we got to be talking about that. And so I liked Christina's video because it was just a moment of like, and it wasn't like a snotty go touch grass. It was like a legitimate, like, y'all need to get off the internet and go see what's happening in your community, right? And she, like I said, she has another one that's like, because there's somebody that's coming for Crutches and Spice, and then there's people that are doxing that person in Crutches, Piper, in Crutches and Spice's name. And so it's just like, TikTok is the wild, wild west right now. And I think we can all do with a little more of what's actually happening in the world. Yeah, so that's all. That's all. Reflection on TikTok drama.
Yeah, my feelings on this is to leave trans people alone.
Yeah.
I never understood the mental illness of individuals who, like that baby, intrusively insert themselves into the lives of Father Flo. I'm joking. But people who, because this is not even the same, I shouldn't even do that. But folks who step into the lived experiences of people who are different than them and then seek to do harm. I'm not sure that I believe in hell anymore, but there's a special place in hell for y'all, because why would you want to ruin someone's day? We talked about Sam Norquist on this show before. This is a person who went to rural New York to find love as a trans person. And the fact that y'all don't believe that other humans and trans people deserve love and companionship, and you would turn the seeking of that love and companionship into a month of torturing another human, I'm not abiding any of that bullshit, because it's exactly what it is. And good on this human who I'm going to follow later. What is their name on social?
This one?
Yes.
This member just speaking. X Tina. I'll send you her profile.
Thank you. We've highlighted them before. If not, you sent me plenty of things from this person. I like their courageous voice.
Has a podcast with Shaheem, who we have featured on Adopt a Black Artist. Their podcast is called Uncultured.
Very nice. I like a bold voice. I like a person who's not afraid of saying the things. Under fascism, people like this must be protected and backed. Ah.
In this country, telling people it is okay to work 3 jobs, not see your kids, not see your loved ones, not take a vacation, and God forbid you get sick, okay? And I still got a job at home because I'm a mother. Because let's not forget, I don't get a day off. And I got to figure all that out. How are we going to eat? How are we going to pay rent? How are we going to pay the utility bills? That every single thing went up after COVID. Not one thing stayed the same except salaries. The only thing that stayed the same in this country is the minimum wage. Even though everything else went up. There is no scarcity. It is, how do we pit people against each other so they're too distracted to see everything that I'm too addicted to consuming, and how much profit I'm making, and more profit, how many more houses one individual can have, how many yachts can one individual have, regardless of whether I am a female, male, whatever. I am a human being first. With what conscience are you criminalizing poverty? And it's not going to stop just in the United States. The poor of the world, not just this country, are fed up. And let's not leave out rural communities. I live in Haines City, Polk County, Florida, okay? But do you think that the poor in rural communities have transportation? They don't. There's absolutely not even a sidewalk to walk on, because I am giving the message of stay poor, stay hidden, and die silently, okay? If I get a job, how do I get to that job? If I even get it when I'm in a rural community. There's something wrong in this country telling people it is okay to work 3 jobs, not see your kids, not see your loved ones, not take a vacation, and God forbid you get sick, okay? And I still got a
There is something happening in the world, I'm letting y'all know, when the poor people rise up, it's going to be a problem. If y'all keep starving people and shutting people out of the opportunity to do better, see, the ruling class has an issue, and she pointed to this so poignantly and powerfully. I love the grit of that woman and the power of her throat chakra being open, because the ruling class wants us all to go and do our Black jobs or to do our poor people jobs. But they're stupid in that they don't want to provide the bridges to actually people being happy in their chosen profession. I am of the opinion that people who are satisfied with what they're doing and have access to going to the job would not have an issue with doing that. But she's speaking to people in rural communities who can't get and maintain the work because of a lack of an infrastructure to provide for poor people. Essentially, you're supposed to walk your way out with or without shoes, out of poverty. And that's not real. In the same way that, well, I'm not even gonna put this back on me. All I'm gonna say is either we're really trying to help or we're not. And the people of all colors are waking up to the ineffectiveness of our government, the ineffectiveness of the people in power that are supposed to create conditions. Isn't that what they're sworn into? To create conditions of care? Isn't that what a civic duty is to all the people? What do you think is going to happen? If you had to, what are you are a strategist in your own right. What are the other pundits and strategists? And y'all should know Tara consumes way more political content and culturally driven content around this than I do, because it frankly depresses me. I do surface this stuff in community and on my own. I'm not trying to put my head in the sand. I just take in a bit less than Priola does for my mental health needs.
Tara listens to What a Day every single day, and I also do New York Times, and I also do TikTok, and I also do Threads, and I also do Don Lemon. Like I get a lot of my political news. Okay. What struck me most about this person's video was the die silently. And so if I had to say what I think is going to happen is that, and what has already started to happen, is that poor and disabled people are no longer going to be dying in silence. And that's going to look really messy. And it's going to make a lot of y'all with even a little bit of privilege, like even that extra $50 a month after bills, it's going to make a lot of y'all uncomfy. And you're going to be faced with a choice. And those of us that are sitting in positions of privilege are going to be faced with a choice of, are we going to actually help or are we not? You know, are you the person that watches the lady try to put something in their car who's disabled and can't quite reach it? Or are you the person that walks over and actually helps them? You know, it really does get down to something as simple as that. In the same way that this boycott, right? Are you the person that just boycotts and doesn't pull people in? Or are you the person that actually says, you know what, folks, I need to go to Costco before this because I'm going to run out of da-da-da. Are you going to be out of anything? And the person says, yep, I'm going to be out. Let's go together. Or let me pick that up for you. You want to Venmo me, blah, da, 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 da. Like, y'all can work this out and make it a community endeavor instead of an individualistic endeavor. And I think that's the choice. Like, the choice is, are you going to maintain your grip and your clawing to colonial capitalistic false comfort, or are you going to turn into community? And I think poor people and disabled people and marginalized people and oppressed people are absolutely going to make the decision to move into community. And that's going to be a problem for those of you that are on the fringes of that. And I hope that you choose community. That's all.
I hope they do too. I hope they do too. I mean, it certainly feels better than the alternative.
Let's skip this one and get to the
Oh.
boycott. I have to go in about 15 minutes. But this is an important story. We'll link it perhaps in the show notes. I'll send it to you, Dr. Flo. Just because I have a student in 30, so I got to clean in 15. Boycott.
I've been trying to tell people this for weeks, for literal weeks. And now I finally have the words to actually put to what I'm trying to talk about. So many thanks to Christiana, who literally gave me the language of what I've been trying to express for weeks. So going back to the conversation we've been having about boycotting, there were so many people trying to overtalk me when I was trying to make my point about boycotting, and that is boycotting or intentionally withholding our dollars as a community really and truly only works if we have the communal support to support it. And people kept overtalking me. Oh, just boycott. Oh, you're not about that life. Just stop shopping there. Just stop going there. And I kept making the point that there's too many people who that's not an option. Too many moms and dads and family members to some of these places that we want to boycott. That's their only grocery store. That's the only place where they can pick up their prescriptions. That's the only place where they get their essentials. And many people within our community have no choice but to rely on some of the bigger places that we're trying to boycott simply because those places are able to deliver where they live. And for weeks I kept saying, we need to have support for those folks who A, may not have another choice, or B, may not have any better options. And Christiana reminded me of the Montgomery bus boycotts and gave me the phrase that everybody wants the revolution, but nobody wants the bake sales. That's exactly it. Everybody wants to be MLK standing at the podium saying all of the things. Nobody wants to be the group of people, mostly Black women, who were doing the bake sales to fund the Montgomery bus boycott. Everybody wants to be the star of the movement, the star of the moment, the big name. Nobody wants to be in that group of planners who are actually putting together how they were going to do this in a way that these boycotts or these movements could be successful. And that is what I've been struggling with for weeks. Weeks, y'all. That too many people want to be the center and the face of movements. Not enough people want to be the funders, the supporters, the builders, the maintainers, the upholders of these movements. It's time for us to really have a conversation about how we support community, because community is not just kumbaya and holding hands. Community is accountability, but community is also support, reciprocal support. And it is vital that we start these conversations now before more things fall apart, while we still have some measure of power and some measure of voice, while we still can connect and reach each other. So what does that mean? Everybody take the opportunity to learn from past movements. Head to your library, get your library card out, head to the history section. It also means circling up and finding your community, getting to know the people who live directly near you, and offering support and help when needed, i.e., hey, can I help you carry some of those heavy groceries? Hey, let me shovel your walk one week and you can shovel mine, or you can mow my grass another time. But it also means looking out for the most vulnerable. It means giving folks who don't have options other options. It means getting creative. It means getting innovative. It means getting connective. Maybe it's time we stop looking for the next big leader and become the next big movement together. Just a thought.
No notes. No notes. No notes.
Yeah, left no crumbs. Left no crumbs. The only thing that came up for me during the share was people think that I want to be the movement leader, but I know that that is a heavy lift. I would rather be at the bake sale because, number one, they got cookies.
They got cookies, and they probably got that good pie and that good cake.
So
Y'all,
like,
oh my God.
so like, why? Yeah, we gonna figure it out together.
Yeah,
Justice for Charles McNair. Oh, sorry.
yeah. No,
Oh,
I
sorry.
loved that video. A, because it gave some action steps at the end, but also just like it encompasses all of it that we're talking about, and we've been talking about all day here on DJ. It just like we don't need everybody to be Joy Reid and Don Lemon and those people, and we certainly don't need any more Rachel Maddows, and we certainly don't need any more Kamalas, and we certainly don't need any more Joe Bidens. We don't need more leaders or perceived leaders. We literally just need to invest in community, whether that's in person or online. And yeah, no notes. Go watch the video. We'll link it somewhere. We'll send it somewhere because it's great. It's great. Yep.
That being said, if you are a leader and you're out there, by all means lead. However, if you're not a leader, you need to be coming under leadership to actually build community and get it going. Y'all don't want to follow or lead, and that's the problem I have. All right, folks. Justice for Charles McNair. Y'all know we've been working on it. I got a story coming out in Love and Truth about Justice for Charles McNair. I did see their presentation last night. I support their efforts and all of their beautiful gowns. Ceasefire now continues in our hearts and in the world. I saw a video recently of Trump trying to turn this into Trump Gaza. It was satirical in nature, but it's really rude to the loss of life. I'm building my Love Revival and Academy to serve the bellies and the hearts and the spirits and the creative spirit of folks. Check that out through the website. I'm looking for artistic personnel who want to build independent creative theater around the message of being loved and lovable. Would love to have your audition. And also, we're looking for people who want to come on stage and share in this space with us and also our podcasting spaces. Audition on the website. We are looking for Black artists to adopt. We know that Black artists need resources, and there are people who are neglected yet talented in our community. We need their names, phone numbers, and emails so that we can help support them and bring attention to their work. Tara has students in her studio. I got to send you money soon for this. Who are looking to continue their musical studies. And their family fell on tough times, but they are very talented and deserving. So we're working on a goal of $200 a month to keep this family in music lessons. Poppy and I contribute, Tara contributes, and the community does as well. Jump in to support. And as I said earlier, for the Love Experience, I probably should put this a different place in the deck. I'm hiring people who want to use their diverse talents for love to create music, theater, and arts, and to feed the 1 in 6 people in town here who are food unstable. Women, children, men, they, thems, and people who are loved and lovable. I'm also teaching people all over the planet how to use their voice and how to open up their hearts to the good in their lives. If you're interested in coaching with me in performance or spiritual matters or life coaching and accountability practices, social media management, the list goes on and on. Just tap in. We are so grateful to be able to be present to the community and to love you all in the ways that we do. Tara is transitioning into a night of teaching as a facilitator of music education and the voice. I'm about to transition into making dinner with my TikTok super fans. Angie came back, so we're making dinner over there while Poppy is running some errands. And I want to thank y'all so much for just being with us in this community. You have so many options of where you can source your joy and source your outrage and source your concerns, but so many, well over 600 people are watching the work that we're doing of putting love in action. And thousands, if not millions more, are watching our live stream content and are listening to our podcast. Don't think just because you're the only one sitting here listening to us that you're the only person that we're making an impact on. Our impact in the world is what we make of it. Our impact is the love, peace, and joy that we share. And we are committed to deconstructing the tough subjects. We are committed to dismantling systems of oppression. And we're always interested in encouraging you to stay in your power, to stay in your joy, and to stay loved and lovable. So on behalf of Tara Parolo Studio, that's the full handle, Poppy Water 33, and myself, Andre, and The Flow, we invite you to come into community. There's so many people that are trying to push folks out and tell people that they don't belong. You belong to love. And because you belong to love, you belong to us. That would be the play.